What's going on, ladies and DeGents? Welcome back to the Distinguished DeGents podcast. You're one in many homes of degenerate gambling, but the only one where you get to deal with us idiots. I am one half of the Distinguished DeGents. I am Steve, Big Bucks, a beta, here coming at you live, week one recap. And joining me, as always, is my co-host. It's my partner in gambling. It's the one and only. It is Jason Money Mansman. Money Mansman. Week one was everything and more that we had anticipated and imagined, and it even gave us a few little twists and turns. What is your overall reaction to just the entire week one slate as a whole?
Thank you to the Jets for saving my betting week. Crazy enough, I think the quarterback play, I think we only had two quarterbacks that passed for over 300 yards, and maybe the return of the running game. We had some very big rushing performances. So it was a crazy week one. The spreads were light. There weren't as many of the crazy underdogs as there normally is. Although I will say, and this is the crazy thing, the New England Patriots have knocked out about 40% of the entries of Circa Survivor. They knocked out about 50% of the Survivor picks in my contest. So the Cincinnati Bungles, who once again start off the year shit, basically tanked like 40% of the Survivor plays. It was crazy.
That is, it always happens this way too. There's always like a big, it's not always week one. It's usually week two or week three, and especially with overreaction week coming up. But my Lord, 40% of the Circa Survivor gone. That is just unreal. And by the way, for those of you, if you are watching live, make sure you check us out on YouTube. We are live. We were live on X. It's currently not working. But make sure you check out our Spotify page too. Check us out on online at Spotify. Download us wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to us while you go do your workout or on your drive, in case you missed the live episodes. But if you did catch it last week, I called it. I said Patriots plus 9.5. For some reason, this number was too big. I didn't have faith in the Bengals starting off strong. I didn't think that the Bengals would lose outright, but lo and behold, here we are. And this is the insanity of week one. And this is where, coming into week two, we're going to have a lot of overreactions to these games specifically. So pay attention, folks. Yeah. Make sure, you not only rewatch those games if you can, pay attention to how the sports media, pay attention to how everyone is reacting, and especially the sports books.
Yeah,
the numbers next week are wild.
And more importantly, if you're not listening, Big Bucks Beta, oh baby, he came out of the gates firing.
Oh, did I? I'll let you run the numbers. We recently announced that we have put out our new contest via DraftKings. If you guys think you can stand up to the DeGents, you think you're as good as us, if not better, now's your time to prove it. We have a money line contest and a spreads contest. Each winner each week gets a shout out, and maybe just to boost it, we may throw out a little prize here next time. We saw that comment come through I believe it was on our Twitter page. Someone asked if there was a prize. We didn't do one for last week. We might throw in one for next week. Stay tuned for that.
Oh, gotcha. Anteing up. But yeah, in terms of us particularly, Big Bucks Beta, you listen to these numbers: 11-5 ATS last week, 14-2 money line. Folks, that's how you make fucking money betting football right there. What a start for you, my friend. That was an impressive performance.
I can't stop winning.
Yeah. Me, on the other hand, it's so bad. I did very well on the money line, but not well enough. 12-4 money line.
Dang, and that's a good week too, by the way. Let's not fool anyone. That's 3 out of 4.
But then ATS 6-10. I got a lot of half-point killers there. Houston, Buffalo, Denver. A lot of half-point bad beats.
Oh, we're going to get into them.
Yeah. So
Just
all in all, though, a decent start. I think I broke about even for the week. I know Big Bucks, you definitely banked, so that's
30 units in, 60 units back, 30 unit profit at the end of the day.
yeah, that's a hell of a fucking week, let me tell you.
Yes, sir. I will admit though, my big hit. It was only a 1 unit play. 24 of the units were accounted for. 1 touchdown, 1 field goal by each, the Packers and the Eagles, in each half.
Yeah, you stuck out on that one. 20 seconds left, they kick a field goal.
Still counts.
That's right, damn straight.
Still fucking counts. You still win fucking money at the end of the night. I wish I had given that bet out live. I'm going to try and do better about that this upcoming week. Not only did we have the Labor Day weekend, but we also had our buddy's bachelor party that we were planning and going through. So a lot of week 1, we got the episode out and we kind of slacked afterwards about getting our best bets out and advertising them more. We're going to do better this week, though.
Yeah. I had a good bet Monday night. I'll give my best winner. San Francisco money line. Aaron Rodgers under 224.5 passing yards. Brandon Ayuk under 54 receiving yards. Boosted 7-1 profit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was a dinger. So all in all, we survived week 1, and now we're to overreaction week 2.
Yes, we are. And before we get into that, I have to do a favor for a buddy of ours, despite the bullshit. Despite how salty he thinks I am about losing week 1 in fantasy, we are going to have to plug our buddy Vitrell, a.k.a. Commissioner Kirkland's new podcast, The Fantasy 10 and 10, coming out live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We will plug the link under the comments once we get that link from the Commissioner. But make sure you check out his Fantasy 10 and 10. He's going to give out 10 fantasy takes within 10 minutes. Keep it light, keep it short. So while we go through our reactions and through our recaps, I'm going to throw up some player stats as well, just for you people out there as well. We may keep it around, we may not, but in honor of the Fantasy 10 and 10 debut, we're going to go ahead and throw some player stats as well as going over the games.
Yeah, and if you think if you think that he doesn't know what he's doing, he dropped a 150 spot on me last week and put me to sleep. So
yeah, don't let
him in fantasy.
Yeah, he may not have made playoffs, but the guy has been a commissioner for over 12 years. He's been doing fantasy for a lot longer. This guy knows his shit, so you're going to want to tune into that, especially if you're some DFS players and you're looking for some insights. He's the guy to go to.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, with that said, we got to start this off. We are going... Oh, wait, before we do that, do we want to do the week 1 stats and trends, the Big Bucks beta trends, or do we want to save that for the end?
We can... I don't know what you mean by that.
You know what? I'll go ahead and we'll knock it out.
Knock it out. Knock it out. All right. I'm curious.
So week 1 stats and trends. This is where I look into your non-conference games, your underdogs, your point spreads, etc. Based on the numbers we gave out last week, we had 2 games that had a line flip to 6.5, where we handicapped it at 5.5. That would be the Denver-Seattle game and the Arizona-Buffalo game. Had you listened to us with Arizona and Buffalo, taking Buffalo at 5.5, you would have cashed. However, if it had flipped to the 6.5, like Mansman did mention in the episode, probably should have took Arizona, like he said. Arizona would have hit. Same with Denver. Denver plus 5.5, that would have been the loser. If you had waited till it was 6.5, would have made more money. That would have been a big hit, albeit last second sort of backdoor cover. But either way, a hit's a hit. So this is the key important note where I say the number is that important if you don't believe it. 5.5 to 6.5. This is the kind. Look at these games. That's the kind of example you want to see where 6 points can make all the difference.
And we talk about it real quick. Week 1. That's where the books literally have all summer to put out the lines. So if you get a bad number week 1, you end up like me, who got a bunch of bad numbers and end up going 6 and 10 ATS.
Yep, it could make or break. Especially the early bird gets the worm, but sometimes it pays off to wait because you could get a better number and play the other side. Yeah. So with that said, all 4 primetime games, all 4 primetime home teams won and covered this week in week 1. And I want to say Sunday Night Football, since week 11, the over has continued to hit. Is it Sunday
Not
Night
this
Football?
week, though.
Oh, no, it wasn't. I'm sorry. Thursday Night Football, not Sunday Night Football. Thursday Night Football, the over is hit in like, I think it's now like 8 straight, 9 straight, something crazy like that. So that's a trend to keep an eye on as well. AFC non-conference road teams went 1-3 straight up in ATS this week. And favorites in general, this is normally a week where underdogs would tend to hit, but favorites actually got the clip 9-7 straight up in ATS this week. Or sorry, 9-7 just ATS. So just barely squeaking it over. And finally, division road underdogs both went 0-2 ATS and straight up this week. And I think we got 3 division road dogs now going into week 2. With that said, I don't have any other trends really to share. This is just stuff that I'm keeping track of throughout the year. I'm going to keep bringing up throughout. So just keep that in mind, folks. All right. Money Mansman, any thoughts on the stats that I brought up?
Interesting. Doesn't really match week 1. Normally week 1, a lot of unders, a lot of underdogs. But not this year. Maybe the new kickoff rule had something to do with it. I know the average starting field position about 4 yards higher than last year. We had that kickoff return touchdown in the Arizona Buffalo game. In Chicago, Tennessee, there was a fumble on the kickoff, resulted in a short field. So maybe something to look forward to moving forward.
Yep, that's something to keep your eye on now for sure. I think penalties a lot. There was a lot of games where it was either like no penalties or it was like every other play was a penalty, and I think that's going to be a bigger factor moving on into the future here.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we go. So we'll start with the Thursday night game. Speaking of, that game did hit the over at 47 at 46.5, excuse me. But the Ravens lose 20-27. Patrick Mahomes gets the win at the last second off of a mere 2 inches off Isaiah Likely's foot. Gets the catch, does not get the foot in bounds. Overall, Lamar Jackson, 273 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Mahomes got 291, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Xavier Worthy, new rookie, 2 touchdowns in the game. Isaiah Likely, maybe the new stud in Baltimore, 111 yards and 9 catches with the first touchdown. To seal off a good fantasy win if you had him. He's the number 1 waiver wire target right now in fantasy. Money Mansman, I'm pretty sure we couldn't even remember our own names by the end of this game, but I know we all caught it. Was this another bullshit Mahomes win saved by the stripes, or was this just the Ravens still not being good enough?
To me, it's the Ravens not being good enough. Lamar Jackson missed a couple, really should have had the touchdown to Isaiah Likely, overthrew him, which resulted in him stepping out of bounds. He also missed a wide open guy on the pass before. I mean, I don't want to judge the Ravens too harshly. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be right there. It was a close game. Mahomes had a really ridiculous interception there, one of those Mahomes head scratchers where if Josh Allen did it, I would hear for a week how much of a bust he is and the most overrated player in football. Trust me, we'll get to Josh Allen later. Can't wait for that. But no, I just think, it was a close game. Chiefs were better. Isn't that sort of how it goes? It's kind of an extension of last year where you look up and the Chiefs didn't necessarily play their best game, but they found a way to get a win against a good opponent. And if you had the Isaiah Likely prop, congratulations, you were sipping your drink in the first quarter. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Isaiah Likely, what a hell of a game he had. That was crazy.
And if you also had the Lamar Jackson over rushing yards prop, that I think was also over by halftime. I think Lamar ended up having 122 rushing yards. Didn't include that in the stat line here, but 16 carries, 122 rushing yards for Lamar by halftime. That was a big hit too. I agree with you, though. This is just, Lamar is great, 2-time MVP, but you still can't beat the Chiefs. At the end of the day, no offense, that touchdown drive, it was a great drive, and I hate to say that Isaiah Likely was the reason they lost, because I don't think it's true. I think for as great as Lamar Jackson played, the Ravens defense also let them down at certain points too. I mean, you're giving up over, God, what the hell was it? I have the number right here. Sorry. Yeah, it was 100 yards. He gave up 100 yards to Rashee Rice. And I actually was concerned. I said the secondary was a big concern. Losing that secondary, are they going to be able to hold the Chiefs down like they did in that AFC Championship? Now, all of a sudden, it's like Mahomes was able to throw the ball all over again.
Well, Baltimore O-line, too. A lot of penalties early on, and Lamar Jackson was running for his life quite a bit.
Yeah, what was it? Ronald Stanley, just every play a fucking penalty.
3 illegal formation penalties in like 5 minutes. Yeah, that wasn't good.
No, not good at all. But moving on, I mean, now we got into overreaction week. The Ravens are now they're going to be laying 9.5 against the Raiders at home. Chiefs hosting again, this time to the Bungles, as you so-called, with Joe Burrow. Now they're laying 5.5 of the line, jump from 3.5 to 5.5 in the offseason. So, I mean, looking towards overreaction week, I mean, is the Ravens number too high, and is the Chiefs number too high now as well? I guess that's the general question.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The Bengals seem to do well against the Chiefs. That's all I'm saying. I've only started sort of my initial handicaps as of now. I've been focused on the Thursday night game, but yeah, those numbers are a little higher than I think you would like, and I think that has a lot to do with how the Raiders looked, at least in the Baltimore game. So.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. Baltimore first game at home. I think they're just generally gonna show up. I think that's why the number's as high as it is. And then I think for, the Chiefs, 5.5, I think it's a bit of an overreaction to the Bengals loss. Not necessarily for how they played Baltimore, but, with Joe Burrow. But I don't know how much of an overreaction, considering they did just lose to the so-called worst team in the NFL, which we'll actually get to that team later, but it turns out it's not the Patriots.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We're going back to Brazil. It was the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. They get the win. Grand total of, and I quote, 34-29. Jordan Love injured in the game at the last drive. 260 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Jaden Reed got 2 touchdowns, 138 passing yards. Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 278 passing yards. Saquon Barkley, the stud of the Philadelphia Eagles, 109 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns under his belt to win the game for Philadelphia. I know we say this every year about the international games. Why the fuck does Goodell keep doing this? I don't know if it could be for the money at this point. Like, the stadiums they'd go to, I mean, other than the money. Why? Like, the stadiums are trash. The people, they go because it's like a gimmick, but I don't think they really care. I mean, I don't know if you remember, we were watching all the Sunday games, and it was like, yeah, we had tens of thousands of people at our fan zone to watch the Sunday games, and it was literally like 40 people.
Yeah, 40 people in a parking lot, yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck, NFL? This is like the strangest thing ever. Although the game ended up being a lot more crowded than anticipated. The game actually started on time, which I know was a big concern. And both these teams actually showed up. I thought this was going to be a snooze fest, but it ended up being a high-flying affair. And Jordan Love shockingly was able to hold his own against a Philadelphia defense that I, quite frankly, thought would be better, but turns out they're back to their same old bullshit on defense, and I don't know if they're going to get any better moving on to week 2.
Yeah, tough game to really take away. I mean, I think the Love injury, boy, Packers are in trouble now. Their defense didn't look great. Saquon Barkley, what a freaking debut that was. I mean, he knew with the Packers. And I just, I wasn't really high on the Packers to begin with. I thought Jordan Love was overrated a lot. But, God, at least he, gives them something. They got Malik Willis starting this week. The Packers could be Packers could be in big trouble. They're home underdogs against the Colts. That is troubling. That is a troubling spot to be. For all those people who had your Packers win the division bets, Packer over win bets, I almost think you might be ripping the ticket, to tell you the truth. You might already be drawing dead.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say going into week 2 is I still don't know what Anthony Richardson is. And that's my question with the Colts that we'll get into next, actually. I just don't know if I want to bet Anthony Richardson is his big favorite going up against... I mean, let's be honest. It's a Malik Willis who I think is serviceable. I think he could do enough. I mean, I guess the question really is, can Green Bay's defense hold him? I mean, Jair Alexander, Xavier McKinney. By the way, two guys who I would have called bums a week ago, both of them got a pick on Jalen Hurts. So they get my respect back for now. But I think going in...
Jalen Hurts didn't look great either. The interceptions, the fumbles, not good.
No. And that's a concern for Philadelphia. I just don't... They did not look like a new team that... Or even look like the team that began the year last year looking strong, looking like they were going to be undefeated. This was the team that ended the season terribly and went one and done against the Buccaneers. And that has major concerns all over for me. Green Bay, I think this was a Jordan Love game that you would have expected. 260, 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he did get hurt. He'll come back in 3 to 4 weeks. I think if the Packers could manage 2-2 in the meantime, I think they have a shot again at division and making playoffs and your win totals. But I mean, that's the question. Can they even get one under Malik Willis?
Both quarterbacks, QBRs under 40. So not the best quarterback play in that game.
No, definitely not. But Saquon, I apologize. You were not the problem. Kind of like what we said anyways about New York, but without really acknowledging it. Saquon, we apologize. You clearly were not the problem in New York, even though we knew that. You are a lot better than we had imagined.
Yeah. Apologies.
Congrats on your debut.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was a crazy performance.
Yeah, that was something. But speaking of crazy performances, I think we have to talk about this trash game. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 18. Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins, 10. In the home debut. I'm not even going to dignify the Steelers and Justin Fields with his stats. 6 field goals from, I think it's Bosworth. I may have fucked that name up, but if I did, I'll fix it. Mansman, I didn't really pay attention to this game. I'm going to let you talk on this real quick, but what the fuck happened here?
Well, I mean, I tried to give those Falcons handicaps. Remember when I said Falcons under? And I said the reason why Falcons under was because if Kirk Cousins gets hurt, I win. If Kirk Cousins comes back from injury and is shit, I win. Well, Kirk Cousins was shit. Quarterback rating under 30, 28.9, 2 picks, 155 yards passing, and the Steelers defense, in particular, TJ Watt, devastating. And the Falcons just couldn't score. And, look, Justin Fields, when he came in the game, and this was stupid because I didn't change it on our contest play, but on my actual, contest play, I did change it to the Steelers plus 3.5. Once Justin Fields played, he gives you mobility. He gives you an element that you're not going to get with Russell Wilson. And in a game like this against the shit Falcons team, that's all you needed. 6 field goals was enough. And Atlanta's offense could do nothing. Congratulations to the Kyle Pitts fantasy owners. You finally got a touchdown. First one in over a year. Kirk Cousins was terrible. Bijan Robinson, 68 yards rushing on 18 carries, less than 4 yards a carry average. Not looking good for Atlanta and Kirk Cousins. And guess who they play? The Eagles in prime time next week. How's that going to go? That's
Oh,
not
God.
where you want to be.
No. And you have to... the flip side of this is the Steelers' defense just really that good under TJ Watt? I mean, that O-line in Atlanta could not get any fucking momentum in stopping TJ Watt. He just basically pulled out his jockstrap and had his fucking way with this Atlanta O-line. And really his way with Kirk Cousins. It was just really unreal here.
And
How
it's
fucking...
weird 'cause the Steelers only got 2 sacks, but Kirko was running for his life most of the game.
He really was, and it didn't seem like Kirko could get comfortable whatsoever. And by the way, it's really amazing when you don't have like a guy like Hawkinson or I don't know, Justin Jefferson or even a Jordan Addison like as a fucking spare. I mean, Drake London, 2 fucking catches. It's like literally I thought Drake London was going to be the new number 1 wide receiver now, and now like
the Falcons leading receiver was Ray McLeod, and that guy was like a practice squad player for the Bills 3 years ago. Like that's your bottom of the barrel shit right there if that's your leading guy.
Yeah, not at all. Ray McLeod, if that's your leader, you have a lot more questions than answers. And Steelers, by the way, no offensive production, and now you have to go to Denver in Mile High.
That's a really interesting game that's coming up, let me tell you.
Remember the last time Justin Fields played Denver? I do, because I broke a lot of things, including the laptop screen that I'm looking at right now. Yeah, that was a replacement I didn't want to do, but it's fine. So keep that in mind going into next week. Otherwise, I mean, this game really was not what I had anticipated. At least from the Atlanta side, like this was a team that went all in on fucking offense. They even went all in on defense in the free agency. And I mean, look, you held a Justin Fields and Pittsburgh to no offense, but it was Arthur Smith. I mean, I think if any team knows what Arthur Smith was going to come into and bring to the table in this game, it was going to be the Atlanta Falcons. So, like, next week's going to be really telling about whether Atlanta is, like, going to actually be productive or not next week. Or, sorry, whether Pittsburgh's going to be productive. And I think it's going to say the same thing for Atlanta. I kind of wonder.
Well, you know who I'm betting in that Atlanta game? Kirk Cousins in prime time. You know who I'm betting.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. But we'll jump into the next 1 o'clock game. Jacksonville, Miami. Tua, he got 338 yards. Tyreek, 1 pregame detainment by Miami PD. That is now going virus all over the internet. 7 catches for 130 yards after, though, with a touchdown. Tank Bigsby for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Great debut, 73 rushing yards. Travis Etienne, 44.
Wait a minute. In your 1 pre-show, you're fucking serious. We're getting...
We are the distinguished DeGents, after all.
1 pregame detainment by Miami PD. You're fucking serious.
All right, Travis Etienne, 44 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Yeah, Cinderella really didn't do much better either. I think he had under 200 passing yards this game. Looked really, really good in the first half though, which kind of like makes me wonder what the hell was Doug Peterson doing in that second half? How did Miami squeak away with this win? This just felt like a game Miami should have lost, but they just didn't. And Jacksonville should have won, but they just couldn't get the fucking points on the board. Even after Miami missed that field goal, I think it was like early in the 4th, late in the 3rd. I have no way to justify this game management. I don't know if you have other thoughts and comments on or not, but this was an enigma game.
Look, it was Jacksonville at one point was a 90%, 92% to win the game. And then ATN fumbles in the end zone, and it completely changes the game. This is a tough game to sort out because looking at like I'm trying to find the team stats here. Looking at the team stats as I'm pulling them up, 400 total yards for the Dolphins, 267 for the Jags. Yards per play, Miami 6.2, Jacksonville 5.3. But at the same time, if ATN holds on to the football and they score that touchdown, Miami is probably 0-1. So it feels like a phony final. Maybe it wasn't, considering the, some of the underlying stats. Just a weird game, but I don't know. It seems like there's a few teams this week. Miami, Buffalo, trying to think who else. Detroit, Kansas City, good teams, just sort of finding ways to win when they're not at their best. And Miami found a way to eke this game out. And, the Trevor Lawrence, it's the same Trevor Lawrence story. One good half, one half of shit. Same story every year.
It seemed like the halves flipped this year around. Like, you remember how Trevor Lawrence used to be a second half quarterback, and the Jags in general were a second half team, and now it's just like they had one good first half against Miami, and then I don't know if it was a fact of the matter that they got too comfortable. I don't know if the heat and the humidity started getting to them. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it a phony win or not. No offense, you go 2 for 10 on third down. You have 8 penalties for 71 yards compared to Miami's 9 for 103. I mean, you're kind of going neck and neck with them. That fumble, crucial, but you also, even when you have the ball and you're being productive, you still let Miami have more time of possession.
And let's not forget when Doug Peterson went for it on 4th and 5.
Oh my God! What the hell was it? Just seemed. God, there's another coach we're going to get into later about his second half game time decisions too, where you just you put your hands up, you go, what the fuck is this guy thinking? And you're wondering, am I a Madden player as good of as an NFL head coach? Because I know what to do in this situation and he doesn't. Does he not have a check guy that they could pay for? I don't know. It just seemed like a phony win, but I think Jacksonville next week, I want to say they get Cleveland next week. And Miami, we're going to get to them later on the Thursday night. We do have that in store for you folks. But for Jacksonville, I'm going to double check because I really do want to say they play they host Cleveland.
That's going to be an interesting one.
God, Jacksonville. I mean, they don't have to travel far, so this time it really will be a home game. God, do you want to put your trust in Cinderella and Dougie P again? I mean, that's going to be the big question.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that one. We'll see.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that one either. I know the misogynist is going to be a rant later about what the hell we're going to do with that. I'm not sure here. I'm not sure what the hell we're going to do with these two next teams. New England were 9.5 point dogs. Pretty sure they were 5-1 underdogs, and they fucking hit. They win the game outright, 16-10. Ramondre Stevenson
killing half of the survivor.
Yeah, 120 yards rushing for Ramondre. Burrow went 21 for 29, but only 164 passing yards. No touchdowns, no picks. God, this game just felt like the Bengals couldn't stop shooting themselves in the foot. They just kept fucking up. Another end zone fumble by what the hell was his name?
By their tight end, whoever the hell.
Their rookie tight end. Hang on. Let me pull up his name. It was rookie. I know it was a rookie tight end. Tanner Hudson.
Yeah. And
just unfortunate that they couldn't get that, because I think if they get it, they win the game. Crazy enough. And I think the momentum switched. Once he fumbled, that momentum switched to New England. They never really let go of it. Since he just couldn't get comfortable, they couldn't get the ball moving either. I'm unsure of really what else happened here.
Yeah, you look at it and they couldn't stop the run really all game. And you look at it looking at the win probability on ESPN, really from midway through the second quarter, the Patriots were projected to win the game, like the entire game. It wasn't even necessarily a phony final. Like Cincinnati just got outplayed. Look at the
Outcoached,
yards,
outplayed.
290 to 224, 2 turnovers for the Bengals, yards per play, 4.5 to 4.7. Like, this is not a phony final. New England was the better team and deserved to win. And let me tell you, another one of those stupid coaching decisions, Cincinnati Bengals punting with 2 minutes left in the game, down 6. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? 4th and 5. 4th and 5. With 2 minutes left, they punt the ball.
I mean,
what?
Look, I'll put, this was the one call where I kind of said, I think if they had the lead, I understand. They didn't have the lead, though. That's what made me so confused. But if this was a normal game, you have the lead, or say it's tied, if you can't stop Jacoby Brissett like you were all half, and you think you're better than them, and you think if Joe Burrow gets the ball with a minute to go, you could get a field goal, that would make sense. But 2 minutes to go, you're down 6, and you punt.
And you haven't stopped Ramondre Stevenson from running like all game.
That was what was crazy. Like that's a right call for a different situation. This was not the right call here. Just didn't seem to make any bit of fucking sense whatsoever.
I don't know how people could say Joe Burrow's like a top 2 quarterback.
Not after that performance.
I don't understand. Like, I know he's coming back from the wrist injury or whatever.
And there's talks that his there's game footage. There's talks that his wrist injury might not be fully healed because there's times where he's literally trying to shake off pain.
Yeah, so that's a factor. I mean, the guy's never seems to be healthy, and that was not a good performance for the Bengals, and it doesn't get any easier next week.
No, it does not.
And they're not in a division where you could afford to have another 1-3 start. Like,
well, think about it. Baltimore won, Pittsburgh won. Or sorry, Baltimore lost. Sorry. I mean, Pittsburgh is right now the AFC North winner with one game.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, Justin Fields. Well, I'll leave it. We'll leave it at this. Next week they both get actual competition. The Bengals will actually go to Kansas City, and I want to say New England is hosting Tennessee. I'm gonna double check. No, they host Seattle. Excuse me. They're hosting Geno Smith and the Seahawks, coming off that win. Unfortunately, but going into what I thought would be the game of the week is my game of the week, in my opinion. Despite that the numbers don't look great, it was a very well fought back and forth. Houston Texans squeak out a win, 29-27 against the Indianapolis Colts. CJ Stroud, 24 for 32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. Star of the game, though, Joe Mixon, 159 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs got 2 touchdowns of his own, though. Anthony Richardson, listen to this stat line, 9 for 19, 212 yards, 3 total touchdowns, including
87.5 QBR.
Alec Pierce, very quiet wide receiver 3 that I've been keeping my eye on for years. 125 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, I still don't know what to make of Anthony Richardson here.
I'll tell you what, there's some promise there. I'll give him that.
I see the glimpses of the same promise that I saw last year. And of course, my dogs are fucking deciding it's go time. So excuse me. But what I will say is the Colts, for once, were able to hold their own against a good AFC team. Unlike what they could do with Gardner Minshew. It seemed like with Minshew, like, he would have flashes and he would have one good game, and then he would play a bunch of shit teams and just be a mediocre quarterback. I think Richardson, shockingly enough, has those better flashes. But there's some signs he could actually lead this Colts team with who they have. And the Texans kind of kept their feet in the ground. They squeaked out the win. It was tough. Stroud looked good too. He kind of got back to his old ways, looking as good as he did. But kind of like my final point, Joe Mixon being the difference maker was the key. The Colts had no answer for Joe Mixon, and I think that's why they got the win in the long run.
Yeah. What hurt me in this one, the blocked punt. That blocked punt really hurt because it looked like the Texans were on their way to covering, and then they got a blocked punt, which definitely helped the cause. But yeah, I mean, I think Richardson reminds me of a young Josh Allen, where you saw a couple glimpses in that game. I mean, those deep throws, especially that one to Pierce in the beginning of the game. I mean, that was a crazy.
That was a dime.
That was a throw that literally Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes. That's who's making those throws. Like that was an insane throw. But yeah, no, Houston took care of business. They won. One of my half-point losses that I feel was kind of unfortunate. The Colts actually had 7 yards per play, so they actually won the YPP battle. But honestly, I thought Houston probably should have covered the block kick. That was a big game changer there. But Houston was able to get the win.
Yeah, and with that said, Houston, let's take a look at what next week brings us. Because both these teams, I think, have a lot of potential moving forward. Houston, they host Chicago Sunday night with Caleb Bum Williams, and the Colts look like they take on the Green Bay Packers. We already mentioned that. So now with the Colts side, I guess with the Green Bay game, I do wonder, can Anthony Richardson do this on the road? Can he do it not in a dome?
God, this feels like an overreaction game, doesn't it? Especially
it really does.
Because you even said like one of those weird flowchart games where these two teams in Indianapolis always play close.
Yeah, they always play close. And not to mention, too, that Green Bay defense I mentioned with, McKinney and Jair, looking at what they did to Jalen Hurts in that first half. I'm wondering I know Indy had no answer for the run. That's why ultimately I think I'm not going to pick Indy to win this game. That's the fucking Eagles. I don't know why I'm getting my teams confused, but I don't know if Indy's going to be able to stop the run, and we just know Green Bay's going to have to hammer that down with it's not Aaron Jones. With Josh. Yeah,
it's going to be a Josh Jacobs game.
Yeah, that's my take overall. I don't know why I keep getting the names confused, but yeah, I think it's going to be a big Josh Jacobs game. The question is, can the Colts stop it? Because if they can, I think Richardson does enough to squeak out an easy win against a backup in Malik Willis. But if not, then God only knows what the hell's going to happen in that overreaction of a game. And then in terms of Houston, if they can't take care of business against this bumfuck Caleb Williams, I think we're going to have a lot of questions moving forward in the future. All right. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the next game. I'll let you rant. I'm going to go off camera real quick and let these dogs free since they constantly trying to interrupt me.
All right. What do we got?
It's your Donko game of the week, Money Mansman. It's the Minnesota Vikings 28. Your New York Giants, 6. Sam Darnold went 19 for 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Aaron Jones, 94 yards, 1 touchdown. Danny Dimeball, 22 for 42, 2 picks. What the fuck were you thinking? What in the fuck were you thinking? I'm going off camera.
Danny Dimeball. I want a dime ball of coke to fucking live through that performance. Jesus Christ. I need to snort something. Maybe that'll explain. Oh my God. Yeah.
What the ever living hell was that performance.
So,
I mean,
the Giants were supposed to be better this year. I didn't expect Daniel Jones to be good. I expected him to be serviceable. What did we get instead? A catastrophe. The Giants put forward one of the worst performances that I can remember in recent memory. They did nothing right. Defense couldn't get a pass rush. They made Sam Darnold look like an NFL MVP. And Daniel Jones, I mean, this guy's done. Like that screen pass interception, I mean, he literally just looked at the guy and threw it in his chest. I don't even know what he's doing anymore.
I don't think Daniel Jones knows what he's doing.
He's throwing high, he's throwing low. And then Saquon Barkley getting 3 touchdowns. In the other game, the Giants might be the worst team in football. I know you have that. Here's the only thing I would say that your last win bet on the Cardinals might have a chance. But
yeah, but oh boy.
I mean, can the Giants beat Washington? They always beat Washington. They always do it. But God, it's hard to see them beat much of anyone the way they played week 1. They were horrible.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. I know I made the joke about Hard Knocks, but what did Dayball say? We paid $160 million for a quarterback. We need to see if we have one.
You don't.
Me and you both knew the answer was no. Giants Nation turns out knew the answer was no. How bad do you have to be that the fans not only leave the stadium early, they don't go home though. They proceed to congregate in the parking lot.
In the fucking parking lot to boo your ass.
And then better yet, then set your jerseys on fire in the middle of the fucking parking lot.
I mean, to be fair, they're probably worth more as flammable than they are actually, like, value-wise.
I mean, maybe if they were flammable, that was the best part. There was videos of people trying to set the jerseys on fire, and they were literally struggling to get it lit. They could not light it. That's how bad Giants Nation. That's how bad Giants fans are doing.
They're New York Giants. They wore those hideous uniforms from 100 years ago. Everything about their performance was hideous. Disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Malik Neighbors, supposedly the future stud. I mean, 60 yards.
Can he throw the ball to himself? Like, he can't throw the ball to himself.
Yeah, and no offense, like, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, getting rid of Saquon. It didn't sound like it was really that much of a money issue. It just sounded like they weren't willing to pay him all that, plus Daniel Jones. And they didn't want to admit they were wrong about Daniel Jones, but like, hey, newsflash, dipshit, y'all are going to lose your jobs because you're wrong about Daniel Jones.
Oh, and can we put this to bed? Brian Daboll created Josh Allen? No. Josh Allen created Josh Allen. Brian Daboll was just along for the ride.
No. That's a fucking joke if you think Brian Daboll was the reason Josh Allen was... No offense, you remember 2020 Daboll going into the Chiefs game. Like, did he really look like a genius there? I mean, did Josh Allen do better performances after he left? Yes. I mean, what a fucking joke that... I mean, and by the way, too, like, now that the Giants are going to Washington, like, is it going to be an overreaction that they're a 2.5 point fucking dog? Like, really? I don't know. Like, it seems like a very flowchart game, but like, other than that, like you said, it's like at least Jaden Daniels could get in the end zone.
Yeah,
the Giants defense couldn't stop shit. Like,
Giants can't tie their shoes. Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad.
Yeah, I don't really fucking know otherwise what to make of this Giant. I mean, I could go on and on, but it's like I said, Daniel Jones is shit. The Giants are shit. They're no good. They are not a good franchise. This is a franchise of losing mentality and just losers. And I don't see a future for them until they finally fucking admit that they were wrong about... First off, you have to admit you're wrong about Daniel Jones. Then you have to do what you got to do to move on from him.
Yeah, they need to move on because I want to play doubles for Drew. So
Doubles for Drew Lock. I'm down for that, and whenever that happens, I'm down. For those of you who don't know, Doubles for Drew is a drinking game. It originated from a game called Rippers for Rippin' when Brett Rippin stepped in during COVID. And then there was a doubles for Driscoll, for Jeff Driscoll, the backup quarterback, where it was the same rules but double the alcohol intake. So now we get to do doubles for Drew Lock because now he's a backup quarterback. But he's actually pretty decent, so we might have a chance at actually having fun. Unfortunately, this next game, not so much fun to talk about. A lot of fun to talk shit on, though. Boy, oh boy, the Carolina Panthers have a lot of explaining to do on this one. 10 for the Panthers. Am I reading this right? 47 for Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. And in typical Derek Carr fashion, 200 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 different Saints players with a touchdown in that game, including Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams. Bryce Young went 12 for 20, 161 yards, 2 interceptions.
Yep.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you how many Sharps and Sharp podcasts I listened to.
Oh my
trying
God,
to get on the Carolina plus 4.5 train. And I think me and you were the only ones that like tuned out all the noise and we were like, wait a minute. This guy is shit. Like, fuck the new coach, fuck the new team. Like, Bryce Young is still the quarterback. He sucks. He's no good.
I should have bet this game. But I was like, the Saints burned me a lot last year, and I was like, I don't know. Carolina, I don't know.
Yeah, I bet this game.
Yeah, I should have known. But no, I didn't bet Carolina, the Sharps, who, Carolina's going to be good. Now, Bryce Young is a bust. Here we go. Ready? I'm going to save a lot of time. One stat. Yards per play. 6.1 for the Saints. 3.5 for Carolina. What else do you have to say? Let's look at QBR. Bryce Young, quarterback rating. Remember, this is out of 100. 10.5. An actual, quarterback rating, traditional quarterback rating. Remember, the highest is 158.3. 32.8. This guy was below XFL level quarterback.
That play. Is below XFL.
10. Think about it. The average quarterback in the ESPN QBR is like 45. So he has exceeded a level beyond below average. He has exceeded a level beyond F. He has reached super F. That is Bryce Young, super F.
Has he reached Tiffin University levels of fucked?
Shout out to Tiffin University. I don't know. He's reached some level that you don't want to be. He is garbage. And the quarterback whisperer, Canales, yeah, good luck with that.
I'm starting to think Pete Carroll was right. He may not be ready for the job. Quarterback. And by the way, too, quarterback whisperer, Baker Mayfield, we're going to get to him soon, looked pretty damn good on his own without him. Yeah. I'm kind of getting tired of this quarterback whisperer narratives or the quarterback's coach. I mean, no offense. We should have known this with when Cliff Kingsbury came out with Kyler Murray. We should have just known that that was a bullshit narrative.
I want to give you, hold on, I got to give one more stat because this shit is so funny. Andy Dalton and Jake Haener, the backup quarterbacks for the Panthers and Saints respectively, they each went 0 for 1 with one incomplete pass. They literally had a higher quarterback rating than Bryce Young.
No, they fucking...
Their quarterback rating, traditional, 39.6. Bryce Young, 32.8. They literally threw it in completion and had higher quarterback rating. That is funny.
Oh my, that's terrible stats, but that's also funny as fuck. Holy hell. Wow, that is... God, the Panthers are just a new level of fuck. By the way, that's my hedge, in case you haven't heard. That's my hedge on my Arizona last team to win a game bet. My concern is like, is this a one-off or is this going to be just the Carolina Panthers' future? And if it is, how long until Kyler gets or not Kyler? How long until Bryce gets benched for Andy Dalton and we actually get somebody serviceable again? I mean, it's not looking good. It's not looking like this guy's going to make it like 6 games.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. I said his name earlier, and he will not appear, but Manson will probably rage when I mention his name. It is the ever so dubbed toddler boy, Kyler Murray, and the Arizona Cardinals. They went to Buffalo. They looked real scary at first. They had the lead. And then Josh Allen woke up and said, "Get out of my chair." 28-34 was the final, the over hit in that matchup. Kyler went 21 for 31, 162 yards, 1 touchdown. JA-17 basically put his big boy pants on, got himself 232 yards and 4 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 2 in the air. It's your team, Asman. I'm going to give you the honors, but I will just say this was the one game where this was a number flip that, depending on where you bet it and how you bet it, you either got fucked by this game or you profited of this game. I unfortunately picked correctly at 5.5 for Buffalo. However, I did not bet it at 5.5. I got it at 6.5. And unfortunately, it was a loss, and that was not winning money.
And it's a shame because literally Carolina covered because of the kickoff return for a touchdown, which
You mean the Cardinals?
Yeah, that's how they were able to cover the kickoff return for the touchdown. I'm going to get in my McDermott rant another day, maybe after they lay an egg on Thursday. I don't know. So I told you, there was a poll. The most overrated football player in the NFL, Joshua Allen.
This was an NFL poll too, by the way. This wasn't like
Put
crowd.
some respect on this motherfucker's name already. That's the difference, literally. And I know it's hard because he hasn't won anything yet. But there's literally, when it comes to hierarchy of NFL, there's 2 quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is 1, Josh Allen is 2, and then everyone else is in their own tier. Like Josh Allen,
I would put Lamar in his own tier. I would, but I know you wouldn't.
Here's why I would say that. Josh Allen in this game, the Bills were down 17-3, couldn't tie their own shoelaces correctly. The defense was complete disaster, and Josh Allen said, "Fuck this, I'm going to win a football game." 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, literally hurdling defenders, going Incredible Hulk mode. This guy is the real fucking deal. And the Bills, they probably lose that game by 2 touchdowns if like Mitch Trubisky's in the game. Like they win that game. Josh Allen is 1-0. Like he just decided, I'm going to win a football game. And that's what he did.
And
that's
I'll mention this too.
Are always going to be competitive because he could do that.
Well, and another point too, I know the kickoff return was the main reason they covered. How about that Bills defense though in the second half? I mean, let's be honest. I think the last score they had was a backdoor, or no, it wasn't a back. The last score was the kickoff return, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So think of it this way: Kyler had 1 touchdown, and then James Conner had another, and the Bills couldn't stop anything. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. Second half comes in, and it's like a whole new ball game. And that Bills defense essentially just shut down Kyler Murray and didn't let him do a damn thing. And the only score they really got was a 31-yard field goal from Matt Prater. They got that big stop early in the 4th. And other than that, like they really couldn't do anything. So that second half adjustment, whatever they did, it worked.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk about the knob? Another questionable decision. Josh Allen single-handedly winning you the game. 4th and 3 on the Arizona 21 with a chance to win the game. And Sean McDermott sends out Tyler Bass to kick a field goal. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? What the fuck are we doing? Like, can you just put the goddamn ball in Josh Allen's hands and let him win a fucking game, which is what he did anyway? Why is Tyler Bass kicking a goddamn field goal 4th and 3 on the 21?
4th and 3 that short when the game was on the line. And, you know, and not to mention, too, I think Josh had, like, his 4th touchdown by, like, mid-4th. Why on earth would they... Yeah, that didn't make sense to me. Because at first I kind of looked at the number and I was like, 34-28. Like, 6? Like, okay, they're going for the touchdown, but not the extra point? Like... Yeah, was there going to be another 12th man on the field? Like, was that what they were going to go for? I don't fucking know. McDermott, he's starting to, like, I mean, I've been questioning him for a while alongside you, but I've been, like, more on the side. This was definitely a game where I'm like, he may not make it to the end of the year.
And again, they got to the Bills 29 on the next drive. They got to the Bills 29-yard line.
And they just went for 3.
No, I mean the Cardinals when they turned it over the downs, they got to the Bills 29. So that goes to show you that you literally almost blew it again.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, isn't that the Bills' MO? They keep it close or they get blown out, and then they start the comeback, and then they just let you down with disappointment one more time.
Yeah, Sean McDermott's got to go. But again, I'm saving that for another day. The Bills won. They made it to Miami 1-0. They got a tough game Thursday, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And Arizona also has a tough game. LA Rams at home, week 2.
Is that one of those flowchart games?
I am licking my chops at this flowchart game.
Yeah, you love those.
I love the NFC West flowchart games. This is definitely one of those where I'm just licking my chops at this number. I've already bet it. I bet it twice, actually, and I'm trying to wait and see what happens.
What's the number, by the way, just real quick?
Rams +5, +1.5. Cardinals right now are favored.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah. I'm double-checking now to make sure. Yeah, Cardinals are -118. Rams are +100 even.
By the time I bet it, Rams will be favored, but we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Next up, we're going into the 4 o'clock slate finally. This was like one shit game after another this week, but
yeah, the 4 o'clock games were rough.
The Chargers 22, Raiders 10. Gardner Minshew went 25 for 33, 257 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. J.K. Dobbins for the Chargers was the star of the game, 135 yards, 10 carries, 1 touchdown. There was a lot right I think I got about these two teams. I'll start with the Chargers. God, why do I fucking mix up the Harbaugh brothers all the time? Jim. This is Jim. Thank you.
Jimmy John.
Jim Harbaugh is a fraud. He is not a good head coach. This guy literally took Justin Herbert and made him irrelevant in a matter of a week.
Game manager.
I mean, forget the game manager. Like, this was a game he literally did outcoach his opponent, but fucking Antonio Pierce, for 5 fucking seconds, forgot who he was. The Raiders on the field, with their attitude, with the fuck you and fight me attitude, it was cute. It was cute. It was cool at first. Then they started getting their asses kicked. And then Antonio Pierce didn't know what to do. And then Antonio Pierce, with I think 3.5 minutes left, on the I think it was the 40 or the 50.
41.
And you were down
6.
5, 6.
4th and 1 from the 40, essentially.
Yeah, 4th and 1, and you punt. That is not the Antonio Pierce that I think the Raiders organization hired. That is a coaching move he did to like try and keep his job, who will later get fired for making that kind of a move. The Antonio Pierce that last season was an interim guy, wanted the job, had the players going for him. he was nowhere to be found in this game. Gardner Minshew, like, I know he had his struggles too. I know they struggled really moving the ball.
Hands for a fumble completely changed the game.
Yeah, I thought this would be a lot closer of a game, but
it really was. But then,
and I don't want to say that I don't want to say Pierce was really outcoached, but the mind games just really got to the Raiders towards the end, and the Chargers, for what it's worth, they were able to keep their cool and just get through it.
Well, I think you're seeing, my takeaway from the game is that maybe I discounted Jim Harbaugh a little too much. They look like a team that's well coached and is going to be a tough out. I don't know if they're going to be great. I'm not like ready to, I still have my Chargers not to make the playoffs bet. And I think as the schedule gets harder, they get a cream puff in Carolina. They're looking like my early survivor play for this week, because I don't think Carolina is going to be able to stop the running game at all. But I think the Chargers are going to be a tough out. And for the Raiders, disappointed. Zamir White didn't really do anything. He had that bad fumble. Gardner Minshew, I thought was going to look a lot better, and just didn't. I don't know. I felt like the Raiders, it felt like they were just, you were waiting for them to do something all game, and they never did it. And that was disappointing, because I liked the Raiders in that game, and it just didn't materialize. Very, very upsetting to me.
Yeah, like I said, the Raiders could never move the ball. Gardner Minshew was struggling. Devontae still couldn't get the ball in his hands. It seemed like there was either drop passes or Gardner was dropping the ball, or it was just incomplete left and right. This Raiders team, I don't know why we had such high hopes, but it's starting to look bad quick.
Yeah.
But it might be an overreaction.
Not going to get any overreaction. Yeah, maybe not going to get any easier.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Chargers have the Panthers. I think that's questionably an easy play. Raiders are catching 8.5 on the road, going to Baltimore next week. This might look like an early best bet to me. I have to do some more research. I haven't played the money yet, but Lamar off the loss, Lamar at home, and the way the Raiders looked last week, that's not a team I want to put money on, even with 8.5.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right. And give me 2 seconds here. Oh, fuck. Here we are. You know what? I'm going to be man. We're not going to skip this game. If this thing would work. There we go. All right. Denver. They travel to Seattle. Bo Nix game debut. Denver lost 20-26. Bo Nix went 26 for 42. He had one rushing touchdown towards the end of the game to get the backdoor cover. He did throw 2 interceptions, though. Kenneth Walker, stud for the Seattle Seahawks, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. On one hand, it was a rookie quarterback debut. He really, really struggled to move the ball. This was not the same Bo Nix we saw in preseason that looked like a flawless field general. This looked like a guy who, for better or for worse, the game was moving quicker than he could think. So he just opted to whoever was quickest. And no offense, in an all-out blitz scheme, that might work, but when Seattle was literally going cover 2, cover 3 the whole time, playing deep zone, just basically telling you, we're going to send our 4 or 5, and we're just going to dare you to throw it because we don't have faith in you. And all you do is check down after check down after check down. You kind of saw in this game that only worked for so long before Seattle just caught on and was like, okay, now we can take this over.
Yeah, basically.
And there was just no adjustment.
Yeah, begging him to go deep.
No adjustments whatsoever. The Bo Nix side of the argument, I'm going to say this as a Broncos fan, my hopes were kind of validated. Which sounds crazy because they did lose. It was a backdoor cover. It wasn't like it was a great win. You kind of mentioned this one thing after I had started taking the jersey off, after I threw the hat, and I was like, what the fuck? You kind of said, look, there's going to be one play you see, and that's going to determine whether you think this guy's the real deal or not. And I think you remember you telling me with the Josh Allen moment.
Yeah.
And it literally after you had said that, Bo Nix started a drive, and he went for the quarterback scramble, and he literally ran the touchdown in for himself. And I don't know if you had the same thought. I kind of had the thought of like, wow, that's kind of a very early Josh Allen moment for Bo Nix.
Yeah, that was a good bounce back after a tough day to have that drive before the game was completely out of reach. Now, it didn't work out. Seattle drained the clock. I was hoping. I really wanted to see Bo Nix get the chance. Unfortunately, the game ended. But
I really did too. That was a killer, but that's kind of just how the game goes. Here's my other thing. This is what really put Sean Payton. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's Joe Lombardi, offensive coordinator. This was the exact same game scheme and game plan you had for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This was the same shit I saw with, like, Trevor Siemian, with fucking, I could go through the list. Joe Flacco, Case Keenum. Like, they just are not original. This bullshit scheme of run the ball 2 yards, screen pass, slant pass 3 yards, or in route 2 yards. Like, could you, like, does it literally kill the receiver to take 1 or 2 extra steps to get to the first down line and then cut in? Like, at least make it close. Just these bullshit in and out routes and, like, slants. Yeah. Not, like, that's not going to win games. That's not going to be good enough. And especially when you have a struggling quarterback with Bo Nix, who I didn't think would have struggled as bad had you just opened up the field more, put him in an empty base, put him in fucking play action, do something.
Yeah.
But
I admit that he did miss some throws deeper down the field, but that's part of the learning experience, man. Like, you got a rookie, you're projected to get 6.5 wins. Like, air it out a little bit. I mean, no offense, 3 yards a pass, that ain't gonna cut it. And that's what they average, 3 yards a pass. It's not gonna do it.
That's not gonna cut it. And I'm gonna go look. I need to look this number up real quick because I don't want to fuck this up when I get even more mad and tell you. Yup, that is correct. 99 rushing yards on only 20 attempts amongst 3 players. You're telling me your number 1 running back, you're only going to hand the ball 10 times to him? You're going to make your rookie quarterback in a defensive set where they're daring him to throw it deep. You're going to make him throw it? Like, it seemed like for the defensive adjustments that Seattle was able to do, Denver just did not adjust whatsoever. In a game they were never really winning to begin with. So it begs the question, like, what the fuck was Joe Lombardi and Sean Payton thinking?
Yeah, they're going to need to run the ball better. Like, 2.7 yards a carry for Jaleel McLaughlin and 2.9 for Javonte Williams. Not good enough.
No, and Javonte Williams, he should be the number 1. Why is McLaughlin getting more carries? Like, I saw the 2 run. Like, Williams was able to at least bounce off 2 or 3 players every time he ran before he got fucking tackled. McLaughlin, it just seemed like you touched him with a pinky, he went down. Like, I don't get it.
For the game, Bo Nix.
Yeah, it's unreal. But, like, this is not the winning formula. I think we have the right pieces. Oh, and one more. And fucking Peyton, this cocksucker. Listen to this shit. Post-game press conference. They're like, well, what could you have done better? Did he say we could have made more adjustments? Could we have opened it up? Were injuries? No, he goes, my wide receivers could have helped them. They could have not dropped the ball.
Wow.
Like, really? You're just going to throw your whole receiving core on, like, just like that. You're going to blame it all on them.
Quarterback.
No, here's my bigger problem. This is the same franchise that, I don't know, held on to Tim Patrick for 2 years while he was on IR, and then proceeded to cut him the minute they could in preseason. This is the same team that traded Jerry Jeudy for a bag of Skittles in a 5th. Although he wasn't catching shit either, so, like, neither. Oh, wait, we're going to go to the next game. He got a touchdown there. Holy shit. It's almost like if you have a receiver that can catch the ball, your quarterback will be successful. but you want to rely on these rookies and save money? Like, that's fine. You could own that. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is don't go fucking blaming them if they drop a ball or two and say that's the reason you lost the game. When in fucking reality, you never ran the ball. You never made any adjustments. Your quarterback couldn't throw the ball past 3 yards. And you went face a Seattle team in their home stadium who dared you to throw the ball. And when you did, they picked you off.
Yeah.
God, fuck this coach. Like he's not that. I'm starting to think he's really not that good.
I'll tell you, the product of Drew Brees.
Really, like on the theme of is the coach a quarterback whisperer? Starting to look like Drew Brees was really the fucking guy here.
I'll leave you with this one. If they do this against the Steelers, they're going to get that kid killed. If they're going to try the little 3-yard dink and dunk all game, they're going to end up getting this guy effed up.
Oh, TJ Watt props. Hit the overs now before they skyrocket. I'm warning you now.
Yeah, I want to hit like every Bo Nix under because I think it could get ugly.
All right. Speaking of ugly, oh God, the Cleveland Browns, the media darlings with Deshaun Watson and, you know, the misogynist. God, did he look terrible. 14. Am I reading that right? I want to make sure that is correct because I could have fucked it up. But either way, it was 33-17. Cowboys get the win on the road. They get the cover as a dog. They win as a dog. Dak Prescott went 19 for 32, 179 yards, 1 touchdown. Zeke Elliott, welcome back to the Cowboys, 40 yards and a touchdown for himself. Brandon Cooks being the number 1 receiver, 61 yards and a tutty. And sure as shit, I did fuck that number up. I'm going to correct it. It was actually 24 for 45 for 169 yards and 2 picks. Jerome Ford, 44 yards and a touchdown himself. I have another rant built in. I'm going to let you go first because I just did my Broncos one.
By the way, remember Bryce Young with his ESPN QBR of 10.5? We found the lower one. Deshaun Watson, ESPN QBR, 9.3 out of 100.
The $240 million quarterback.
Bro, this guy would be a backup in the XFL.
A 9 QBR.
He needs to go and be a backup for the Houston Roughnecks. Like, look, I don't have much for this game. My David, I literally missed out on money because David Njoku got hurt like 6 yards. I needed him to get 6 more yards and he got hurt. Like, that was my Sunday. That was the type of shit that was happening to me. And that would have been a good hit. I would have hit for like another 7 units or whatever. That one hurt.
God,
but
that's painful.
Yeah, it really was. But no, I don't have much for this game. Dallas, I think, is going to be a little better than people thought. They did what they had to. It wasn't an incredibly impressive performance. Maybe more so on the like. I just think the story of this game is Watson wasn't that good, and Dallas was good enough to sort of kind of like San Francisco did against the Jets. We're not going to take super risks. We're just going to methodically go down the field. We're going to score every possession, and we're going to dare you to beat us. And Deshaun Watson was not good enough to do anything. And I think Deshaun Watson, I think the Browns are hoping to God that he gets suspended again because of this new lawsuit so they could get out of this contract. Because that might be one of the worst contracts in NFL history.
So according to Kevin Stefanski, Watson is a start for next week. So it doesn't sound like he's going to get suspended. It sounds like they're going to move forward, which I think as a coach, that might be the right thing to do. I had a little mini speech drafted up. I find out that Deshaun Watson literally is playing days before he finds out his biological father passed away. They didn't have a close relationship, supposedly, according to the news I read. He puts it on his Instagram, it's a thing, and I'm like, you know, it's pretty emotional. I think he's going to lose if he starts, but I'm not going to dog on him. I'm not going to talk shit. I'll just say, look, let's move on to next week. Let's give him one more chance, make sure there's really no excuses. And then another accusation comes out. After all we thought was said and done, after we thought like there was no more women, another one comes out of the woodworks. Albeit this was a claim for 2020. So could this have been reported to Cleveland already and now they can't get out of it? I don't know. Is this something that the NFL will actually suspend him over or put him on the commissioner exempt list? I don't know. It's not looking likely. So I'll say this. Deshaun Watson, you are the worst fucking bum Cleveland quarterback we have seen since Johnny Manziel. You might as well not study tape like he did because at least you fucking would have an excuse. Deshaun Watson is turning out to be a product of being a Clemson quarterback. Which was, he was good in college, and then when he came to the NFL, he had a... God, what the fucking Patriots coordinator guy, Bill O'Brien. You had a Bill O'Brien who you didn't really get along with, which, by the way, not a good sign. If you've never gotten along with anyone in Houston, now you're coming to Cleveland and you have all these antics going. Like, look, one time is a coincidence. Two is random. This is the third fucking time in the news you've had an issue.
Well, let's be honest, more than 3 women came forward.
Oh, no. Well, like, I mean, well, the very first one was that, like, he was backing out of Texas. He signed the contract. He wanted out. He wasn't getting along, so he just sat out. That was issue number 1. Issue number 2 was when all the accusations came out the first time. Now, when we all thought that was said and done, we can turn a new page, move on. Another one comes out. Right after you start the season like this. I think if you're Cleveland, you look to pull a Russell Wilson and just cut bait. You really have to start considering it. This guy is no... I mean, and again, I hate that I picked him up in fantasy because I was like, what if I'm wrong? Turns out I wasn't wrong. Deshaun Watson is no good. There's no way this guy gets 3,200 passing yards by the end of the year. It doesn't even sound like he's going to complete the end of the year. He might get benched for Jameis at some point if he keeps playing this way.
Yeah.
And like forgetting that Cleveland defense, by the way, who actually did show up, you can't fucking win on defense if your quarterback can't get you points. And that's what this game proved to me. That was what I took away. That's my recap. As good as Cleveland's defense is, as good as everyone else in that team is, your biggest anchor is your quarterback, and he's holding you down fucking heavier than an elephant.
Yeah. No, that's my takeaway as well. I agree.
All right. Final 4:00 game. Washington Commies, a.k.a. the Commanders. New quarterback Jaden Daniels. They traveled to Tampa Bay. Didn't make a difference. They got their asses kicked still. 20 for the Washington Commies, 37 for the Bucks. Over 43.5 hits. Daniels went 17 for 24. 84 passing yards. 2 rushing touchdowns, though. Baker Mayfield looked fucking flawless in this game. 24 for 30, 289 yards. 4 touchdowns, 2 of which to Mike Evans for 61 passing yards. Monty Mansman, I'm going to propose this question. This was something I overheard, and I'm not sure if I might have missed a game or not. I'm going to have to go through my list. But either way, they're talking about Jaden Daniels being the lead for Rookie of the Year now.
I mean, it's too early to tell. He ran the ball well. I guess that's going to give him an edge, but it's too early to tell. I mean, you don't know. He got a touchdown in garbage time. Tampa Bay won easily. That was my best bet hit. That was the one bet on Sunday I hit. Not, again, another game where it's hard to really big pronouncements. Washington's bad. Tampa Bay, I think, is going to have a chance to go back to the playoffs. Tampa Bay looked like a good team. They handled their business against the bad team. And, you look at Cleveland. Like, Baker Mayfield is never going to be elite, but he damn sure serviceable, especially against a bad team. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns. Chris Godwin, a touchdown. I mean, not much to say. Tampa handled their business. And Washington, hard to really tell how good Daniels was, because a lot of the stuff he did was at end of the game was over.
Garbage time.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but like for those of you saying like Jaden Daniels will be rookie of the year, you have to basically account for like if this just comes down to garbage time stats. I mean, if Malik Neighbors is there, if Caleb Williams tanks, who, by the way, did we even talk about the Bears-Titans game?
No.
All right, so we'll do that next before we get into the last of the prime time. We'll try to be quick, and then
let's try and be quick. Our video is going very long.
Yeah. My final thoughts. I'm with you. This was not shocking one way or the other. Bucks did what they had to do. Washington is still a terrible fucking defense. They're still a terrible team. Really going to be hard. They're just as hard to bet on next week when they play the Giants. Like, I don't really know what the correct angle is. I know what the flow chart says, but I don't know what the correct angle is just because of how bad both these teams were. Like, there's really a distinction between how bad they are versus how good the Bucks are. And let's be honest, if you're a team that made Baker Mayfield look perfect, you need to reevaluate your key personnel. All right, next up, like we did forget, of course, it was the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears back in the 1 o'clock slate. The Bears were losing, I want to say it was 17-3. And Jesus fucking Christ, Will Levis single-handedly blew this fucking game. And the Bears end up coming back to win 24-17.
Win and cover in a game where they scored no offensive touchdowns.
Yeah. Caleb Williams, congratulations. You're trash. Like we thought you would. Like I thought you would be. Remember when he told his punter, like, don't worry, you won't have to punt a lot with me here? And then this punter proceeds to punt 6 fucking times. Yeah. Remember when they got all these stud wide receivers just for Caleb to get under 100 passing yards?
Yeah.
with a QBR rating of 55.7.
What was his ESPN QBR? Do you know?
I can look it up.
Oh, I got it. I'll look it up. You keep going.
Yeah. This is short and sweet. The Bears had no reason to win this game. They really should have lost, but leave it to Will Levis and this Titans team to fuck it up in really spectacular fashion. Not even like Will Levis meant to throw a pick 6. He was literally trying to hurl the ball out from getting a sack. And somehow the Bears were on defense were smart enough to get the pick 6. Tyreek Stevenson. Not gonna lie, pretty clutch move by him. I got to give him all that credit. But for all of like the first, I mean, I'm trying to do the math, but it looks like the first 26 minutes and 22 seconds, you had the lead 17-0, and then afterwards, just you let Cairo Santos run the ball down. You give up a punt return for a touchdown, and then that ugly pick 6. Like, that's what it takes for the Bears to win. They're not only going to, like, not make playoffs. This under is going to cash it's going to cash before Thanksgiving. I swear. The way this Bears team played.
Here's what I'll say. Will Levis threw probably one of the stupidest fucking interceptions. He and Daniel Jones literally in competition for the dumbest fucking picks this week. The Bears, I'm down on the Bears. I've heard a lot of people, oh my God, I'm betting Bears under immediately. I wouldn't go that far yet. Like, if you liked the Bears before, the fact that Caleb Williams in his first career start played badly, I wouldn't necessarily panic as of yet. I don't think the Bears are going to be good. I don't think they're great. But their defense played well against the bad team, so I think that's worth something. I don't know. It's one of those false final games where Tennessee should have won, but I don't know if it necessarily, the fact that the Bears won, I don't want to completely discount it because their defense and special teams came through. Caleb Williams, it's going to be a wait and see for all these rookies. We're going to have to see in the next couple weeks. Do they start to look better, or are they just going to be shit all year?
I mean, this has the makings of a quarterback who's going to be shit all year. With the way, if that's how he performed against the Titans, what's he going to do when it's Green Bay? What's he going to do when it's Minnesota?
I did hear he missed a lot of wide open guys, like overthrown by chucking balls like practically in the stands. Like, it was not good.
And no offense, like, I guess Tennessee's defense is something to give credit for too in this game, like for holding him that low of a number. But like at the same time, it wasn't like Will Levis was all that impressive. He only threw for 127 yards.
Yeah, he sucks. Will Levis is a bust. I'm declaring it. He's a scumbag. Can't believe he fucking cost us that cover with that stupid interception.
That was a fucking kill. Oh my god, the fucking cover. They should have won. That should have been an underdog parlay. That was an underdog parlay buster right there.
Ouch.
Without a doubt. Ugh. That killed me. All right, last but not least, we're going back into prime time. It is Sunday Night Football. Matty Stafford once again returns to Detroit. They do lose in overtime though, 20-26. Stafford throws up 317 yards for one touchdown, one pick. Cooper Kupp, 14 catches for 110 yards. Jared Goff, only 217, one touchdown, one pick as well. David Montgomery taking the clear lead back role with 91 rushing yards and a tutty. Jameson Williams, though, don't think it was one catch, but he has 121 yards, one touchdown. I am not going to lie. I fell asleep right as it was going into the fourth.
Oh, you made it longer than me. I made it to the first quarter and then out like a light.
I did watch the recap, though. Unfortunately for Puka Nacua fans out there, he's been placed on IR. Speedy recovery to him. Look, this is... I don't even know if this analogy will make sense until I get through it, but this is like the old man and the young buck. Like, you have the old man in Sean McVay, who was, like, really good as a head coach. He's a great leader, but you're starting to wonder if the game is kind of starting to pass by him, and he's just not able to be as innovative as he once used to be with this team. And then you have Detroit with, God, I'm blanking on the name, but with their head coach, who took Jared Goff and said, this guy's a winner, this guy's a stud, we can make him good and build around him, and then proceeds to fucking do that within 2 years and make an NFC championship.
Dan Campbell.
Thank you, Mansman. Dan Campbell, kudos to this guy just for fucking building this team to begin with.
Yeah,
in a matter of years.
Gonna bite their kneecaps off. Dan Campbell.
And Jameson Williams, all but forgotten in fantasy terms, and just in terms of betting too, puts up the fucking game of his life here. I really don't have too much more to say. This was everything you would want in a Sunday night game. It was close. It was head-to-head. Detroit gets a much-needed win to start the season. Rams, unfortunately, have a lot of injuries that they're going to have to deal with. Luckily, they get to step down in competition next week when they go to play Arizona in Glendale, which, by the way, if you don't know, that seems to be their secondary home.
Yeah. I can't believe they're underdogs next week. The Rams, I mean, this was a good game. This was a great game. The stats were neck and neck. It took overtime to get a winner. I think the Rams just gassed out in the end. But Rams are going to be good. They're going to be right there. Matt Stafford looked perfectly fine. Detroit's going to be good. These are two good teams who might be mixing it up in the playoffs. I see these as two playoff teams. So
I wouldn't be shocked if we see these teams open up the playoffs again next year.
Oh,
I
yeah,
really wouldn't be.
For sure. So, yeah, I think the Rams, that's a WTF game because I think the Rams are definitely better than Arizona.
Yeah, and the what the fuck games is what I love. I love making money off what the fuck games. I also tend to lose a lot of money on what the fuck games because I go heavy.
Yeah.
But.
Also known as wrong team favorite, but I like what the fuck as well.
All right. Speaking of what the fuck were the Jets doing as only 3.5 point road dogs here? Monday Night Football, they went to San Francisco. It was the return of Aaron Rodgers. Final score, I just lost it. Give me 2 seconds. But the Jets did lose. San Francisco wins. San Francisco covers. Say it with me, Mansman. Jets. Sucks. 19-32 was the final. The over hits as well here, just barely. Aaron Rodgers, 13 for 21, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Pulled himself out of the game in the late fourth quarter. We got a little bit of Tyrod Taylor, who happened to get one of the second touchdowns to Allen Lazard, 89 yards, 6 catches. Brock Purdy went 19 for 29, 231 yards. Backup running back, have yourself a day, young man, and thank you for saving my fantasy team from embarrassment. Jordan Mason, 28 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Thank you, San Francisco. Thank you, Jordan Mason, for saving my betting week as well. Even though I did hit the big bet in the Eagles game. Cleaned house. By the way, San Francisco, I betted at 4.5. Hit it. Betted at 3.5. Hit it. I betted at 4. Hit it. I parlayed the 4.5 with the Jets under 19.5 team total. Hit that. That was a
that was a sweat.
That was a sweat. Okay, that was admittedly sweat. Oh yeah, Jordan Mason, anytime touchdown, boosted to 3-1. Hit. I mean, I cleaned house that game, but that under 19.5 was a sweat.
Brandon Ayuk under hit. Brock Purdy under passing yards hit. Aaron Rodgers under passing yards hit. Deebo Samuel over receiving yards. I think I did an alternate line for that hit. And then obviously Niners minus 4.5, minus 3.5 money line. You were hitting all of those.
Yeah, that was a game we both profited on. But overall, in terms of the games, look, I think we said this about other teams in this week. I'm going to say it again. We knew who Robert Saleh was. We knew what Nathaniel Hackett was. They're frauds. They're no good coaches. They're not going to make it to the end of the year, guys. Like, when was Robert Saleh ever going to be a head coach in this game? Because I didn't see it once. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, there were glimpses of old Aaron Rodgers, but I saw more of a injured, like laid back, struggling Aaron Rodgers that we remembered in 2022 during the bad season.
The fact that he has no mobility is really, like, you see him in the pocket, he doesn't move that well. Like, that's going to be a real problem. He does not move very well. At least right now, he's not.
Yeah, my takeaway too, like, he can't move, he can't take away. He still has the field general though. Like, I will say, there were moments where I would say Zach Wilson were under center, he'd have gotten sacked. But Aaron Rodgers, I mean, for what it's worth, he's definitely the upgraded quarterback the Jets needed, but I just don't think he's got it anymore to take them to the playoffs. We'll see how many wins he gets this team. I'm not going to completely get down on the Jets yet for next week. I think they play the Titans. I'm going to triple check that because I know I've been saying that all goddamn episode. But
yeah.
So I'm not totally out yet, but we'll see.
Agree. I'm not totally out, and they have an easy schedule. I will say their defensive performance was disconcerting. This team has thrived on a good defense, and I think they're going to rely on a good defense because I don't see MVP Aaron Rodgers coming back. Like, he's a guy with limited mobility who is going to need a clean pocket to do well. And I think if they continue, I mean, no offense, a backup running back put $150 on them. I know it's San Francisco, but backup running back put $150 easy. If that happens every week, they're going to have some problems. I don't know if this defense is going to be as good as they were last year. They lost a lot of guys on that defensive line. John Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff, Al Woods. Didn't really replace them. Their linebacking core. Mosley's old. Quincy
Mosley's old, and he was out. He was out by halftime. Like, that was concerning.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner, he was out for a drive where I think they ended up scoring a touchdown. That was concerning.
Well, I don't think Sauce Gardner, too. The problem is if teams are going to run, Sauce Gardner does not tackle. Like, he's averse to tackling. He's definitely a finesse corner.
Yeah, I'm not. I think the Jets are like on fraud alert. I'm not going to say they're frauds. Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett, they're definite frauds in my opinion. I didn't think they should have had a job at the end of last year. Yep. They somehow both held on to it, and that's fine, but I'll bet against them each week. Yep. Don't know about next week, but we'll see.
I'll leave you with this, buddy. Bills have James Cook. They could run the football. Miami, they always can run the football no matter it's Mostert or Wilson or Achane. They're going to run the football. Patriots with Stevenson. They look like they might be able to run the football a little bit. So
there was no might. They did.
They better get their run defense figured out right quick.
Out of those three teams, I would say Stevenson could run the ball the most. The way they played last week.
Yeah, they look good. They look good. So.
Yeah, the Jets defense, very, very concerning. San Francisco, typical Kyle Shanahan type win. Kind of keep it close and respectable, but really it was a backhanded covers like on the team total, but really it didn't matter. They had the game ball in hand. Brock Purdy, typical performance. Jordan Mason getting the workload, that was what shocked me. I did not see that coming. Already had the loss in fantasy, but I will say he made it a lot more respectable. Kind of proved that for a fantasy aspect, handcuffs are so important. Because this can make or break a game.
Yeah. It definitely came in clutch, that's for sure.
And not to mention, too, for like the football aspect, I think Jordan having a reliable backup, this is the difference it makes. Versus having like a guy who really shouldn't be there to begin with. Like, you see it's night and day. Especially when you do have good coaching. But, all right, that was all 18 games from week 1. We got through all our thoughts. We now dive into the final end of our episode. We have our Thursday night football game to predict and handicap.
It's a big game.
It's going to be a big one. And hold on. Where did you go?
Less than 24 hours. Big game. This could be the game for the division in week 2.
This could be the game. And here we go. Thursday night football. It is your Buffalo Bills catching plus 120 as a 2.5-point underdog, going to Miami as minus 142 home favorites, over under a set of 48.5. Mansman, it's your team. I give you the honors.
Oh boy. Miami, 10 straight wins as home favorites against the AFC East. They've covered the spread as favorites against the AFC East the last 5 times they've been favorites. But the Buffalo Bills, 11-1 in their last 12 games against the Miami Dolphins. JA-17 is the Dolphin killer, the fish squisher. Look, here's my handicap for this game. I think it's going to be a nip and tuck close game. I don't think either team's getting blown out Thursday night. I think both teams got away with a close win last week. Miami does have some injuries. Devon Achane may not play. Mostert's already out. I picked up Jeff Wilson today on fantasy.
I saw that.
Sniped him up. Um, I think in this game, I know it's 2.5. I'd like it higher. You might be able to get 3. The money might keep coming in on the Dolphins. But honestly, if it's me, I'm betting Bills plus 2.5. Like, I got to take the points. The Bills 11-1 in the last 12 against the Dolphins. They always seem to play well against the Dolphins. The Dolphins' running game might be diminished. They still have those receivers, but it's hard for me to, it's kind of like Patrick Mahomes, and especially against this team, it's just hard for me in a game I know is going to be close not to take the points. And I could very easily see this being a 30-28 game, 34-32, something ridiculous. Like, I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I didn't think either defense looked particularly great week 1. I think this is going to be a fun Thursday night game to open up the year. And I don't know if the Bills are going to win, but I think I got to take the Bills plus the points.
Gotcha. I think there's arguments for both sides here. You gave your side for the Bills. I'll do my best to get the side of the Dolphins here. Because you're right, history says take Josh Allen. He's the Dolphin killer. Josh Allen's only 6-6-1 ATS against the Dolphins. Or sorry, he's 6-6-1 as an underdog. Excuse me. You are getting the Bills plus the points. Miami's defense looked a lot better, just like the Bills in the second half. They shut down to Trevor Lawrence. The Bills, the Dolphins, they struggled early. They kind of turned it around in the second half. I've seen this Bills defense before. Here's the difference. When the Dolphins defense turned it around, Tua got yards, he didn't get points. When the Bills turned it around, Josh got 4 touchdowns. If it wasn't for a kick return for a touchdown, the Bills win and cover last week, without question.
Yeah.
Tua barely beating the Jags is an early concern. A lot of people are high on the Jags. I'm not one of them, but I've heard some points about that being a good win and not a bad loss either for the Jags. Like, it could be a good loss. I'm not going to lay points on a team that had to do a last-second field goal after they missed the first one. And I'm getting 2 teams that are playing eerily similar on defense. I think Buffalo has the better quarterback. He did a lot better in the comeback. He is 6-0 on Thursday Night Football since 2019. And I'm getting them as a dog. I'm playing the numbers here at this point, but yeah, Bills plus 2.5. Bills money line is the play. I think if you're a gambling man, that's the flow chart. Flow chart doesn't lie. I think it's weird we're getting the Bills as an underdog. I think it's kind of early. Like, it should be more of a pick 'em. I saw some 1.5s floating around, so I think we're going to get closer to that by game time. But right now, as it lays, Bills plus 2.5, that's all but a lock. Here's a scarier prediction, though. I'm going under the 49 or 48.5 here.
Oh, interesting.
Even though the over has hit in every Thursday night game since week 11. The defenses are why. This would be a game that, like, if I really want to get cute, I would probably bet over total in the first half, under total in the second.
Yeah, that's tough. The Bills have a lot of young guys in the secondary who are they're gonna be baptized by fire. That's for sure.
They're going to be baptized by fire, but I also know the Bills, they play contain. This just seems like if you have Tyreek, it's good for fantasy, maybe good for DFS. I don't know if it's going to be good for getting points on the board, though, and last week was a good example of that. They had the one long bomb, and after that, it really wasn't too much more.
Yeah.
The Bills, opposite issue. Couldn't do anything in the first half. Second half, they exploded. This Dolphins team knows him pretty well. I think there's a way they can contain him. I see this being more of like a 28-24 type game. Maybe even like 26-28, 26-27. I think it's going to be really, really close. May even come down to the wire. Or it even could be a backdoor cover. But I'm just concerned with 48.5. Like, the over could hit by halftime. It is the Dolphins and the Bills. But it just feels like a game where there's a lot of high expectations for scoring, and we may not get as much as we think.
Yeah. And I'll leave you with this because this is for our sharper listeners. This is looking like there's a really probably slam dunk Wong teaser that is available. Bill plus 2.5, Ravens minus 8.5. That is I think a borderline slam dunk Wong teaser. Bills teased up to 8.5. Ravens down to 2.5. That could be a slam dunk victory.
If you want to get even cuter, throw in Philly minus 6.5. I don't know if it's the one.
Normally, the traditional Wong teasers go through the 3 and 7. But I mean, if you want to throw in another tease leg, you could. You could also do the Giants if you were into
Dallas.
The Giants.
Dallas just went down. Dallas was a 7. Now it's 6.5.
I'm trying to see if there's anyone else who could be a Wong. The Lions potentially could be.
Ooh, I like the Lions.
Tease them down to 1.5. So yeah,
I love options.
That. I personally think that the Ravens Bills one is a lot. I might actually play that.
I might play all three. I really like that Lions leg thrown in.
Yeah. So that might be a live one.
Yeah, that is a sharp move right there from you, Money Management. I'm throwing that in right now. We'll go and we'll we'll even go a unit and a half on that one. I'll go a unit and a half. That's how confident I am.
There we go. All right. Well, It's almost been 2 hours, so I think it's time to wrap this up.
Yes, sir. We'll wrap it up. Make sure you check out our buddy Vitrell, a.k.a. Commissioner Kirkland. His Fantasy 10 and 10 podcast drops tomorrow. We'll drop the link on our Twitter at x.com/DeGents podcast. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I have nothing left to say. We've been going for 2 hours. I am Steve, Big Bucks Beta.
Money Management signing off.
Signing off. Have a good night, DeGents, and go make that motherfucking money.
Hell yeah.